from the LGBTQ perspective and inform people of some of the disparities that we face, because those are ones that I wasn't going to focus on for my dissertation. And anything that I was going to focus on for my dissertation, I'm leaving in that. And because one girl had put feedback in for one of my posts saying, well, this is on all sectors and stuff, not just, and I did the whole LGBTQIA in general. She's like, and transgender. I'm like, well, I'm leaving that part for my dissertation. So she's like, oh, well, I look forward to reading it. So yeah, there's different aspects of things in life that I'm looking at, things that I've got to get changed from the past if I can, with a legal issue. But there's different speaking engagements I want to get to and be able to help educate and work with, like I said last week, work with the politicians on the laws, because we really, really do need to come up with something that all sides can agree on.
Exactly.
And I know it's like climbing a mountain, but like state of California, their protection law is 128 pages. A lot of the volumes that we have, even with like the Affordable Care Act, it was 900 and some pages long, for a federal law. So, it's just looking at the nitty gritty and a lot of the legalese. If you took the legalese out of stuff, then it would be really condensed down. So it's just, you put you condense everything down, then you let the legalese get put in there, and then that's where people get bent out of shape because they don't understand the legalese aspect and all the definitions and why things are written the way they are. And that was the one thing with learning policies and being able to evaluate a policy and bend a policy where it needs to be bent to help get people to realize that, yeah, the way it's written is wrong and we need to change this to make it right. And then they can change it and make it right. So there's just different aspects. I've been mentoring a newly acquired person into the trans community. She stays inside unless she goes to work for the most part. So I was able to meet with her one morning and talk to her and everything. And then just now being with the Transgender Veterans Support Group as the chapter president for the state of Florida. It's a Facebook group that I'm in contact with the international president all the time. And I've got some people that I'm going to meet here on the 28th of the month when I go to my first transgender, basically beauty pageant, and run to see what it's all about and see how well I do with that. And I've talked to a few other beauty pageants, and I have not heard back from one of them. And the other one, I actually talked to somebody on the phone, and he's like, well, we've never had a transgender person want to be in our pageant. And I'm like, okay, well, you do now. And he's like, well, I don't know. You might want to go find a beauty pageant for your kind. And I'm like, really? You think so? Because this is a Mrs. pageant, and there's really none. And I was just like taken aback a little bit. And he's like, well, I have to talk to the board. I'm like, okay, when's the board meet? And he's like, January, the third week of January. I'm like, okay, could you call me back afterwards and touch base with me and let me know what the board decided? Because if so, then I will gladly get everything filled out, sent in to you, and get ready for this, because this is something I really want to do. And I brought up the fact that Miss America and Miss Universe and other beauty pageants are allowing transgender women to participate. So it's not a cut dry thing anymore with the way our society is starting to become accepting. So it's just educating somebody to break the mold and redefine their policies, because it's time to redefine their policies.
Well,
and
Kyla, you know that there was a famous case where I think it was Miss Israel that she wasn't. People didn't realize that she was trans, and she won. She won a contest. When did that happen? That happened a few years ago, and yes, that happened. I'm pretty sure it was Miss Israel, and they didn't realize she was trans, and she won the contest. In fact, she appeared on all kinds of covers and everything, and yes, true story. So, but now people can
and the nice thing is if they come back and say, no, we're not going to allow, I'll say, okay, no problem. And they'll think that's the end of it, but it's not going to be the end of it. Because I've got a dozen business cards of LGBTQIA lawyers in the area. I've got a platform, I'm not going to let this go. I'm going to redefine their policy for them. And they're actually holding the national pageant at the same time they hold the state pageant. So it would be just so devastating if they had an injunction put on them. Because all these people have paid. All these people have their hotel room at this resort booked. But if they get a legal injunction put on them, then they can't hold it. They've got to refund all that money.
Exactly.
And we're talking a national level, so that's 50 states, and if they allow the territories, that's territories included. So, and some of these people book non-refundable tickets.
Yeah.
But I don't think
they may want to think twice. You're exactly right.
Yeah. And they may put in, because I went on this other site and they're like, well, transgender women have a disadvantage because they go through plastic surgery, so they have the perfect face and the perfect. I'm like, no, not all of us do. Not all of us can afford to go through plastic surgery. Not all of us want facial reconstruction surgery because of the expense, and not all of us need that. So it's their thoughts and fears are ridiculous in that aspect, because you can always put in there that we will not allow anyone who's gone through and had facial surgery or had breast implants put in.
And half of
so
them
you
have
can make that
implants.
Yeah, and you can make that across the board for transgender women and cisgendered women competing in the competition. So that way everything has to be all natural in that aspect. And that makes an even playing field. Or is it the case where they're afraid that the transgender woman is going to look good enough or have the poise and the vocabulary and the diction that they need in order to win, and because we're, quote, taboo, end quote, that the judge is going to mark them up higher score for fear of retaliation or whatever it may be. But if you put things on an even playing field, and that's all I want, is to be on an even playing field, then you have a good competition. And I'm looking at trying to get scholarship money for my PhD program because it's not cheap. And having a family with 5 kids that are in school, it does take a toll on the budget. So I'm trying to come up with anything and everything.
Kyla, we're going to need to wrap up here again. We've got about 2 minutes, and I want you to give some more of your thoughts here. And I'm hoping we're going to have you back again, and we'll get some more stuff lined up. And there's a lot more I wanted to say to you about some other things too. But I'll touch base with you offline on that and see where we can head with some other options for you. But I want to thank you for being here, and give me some of your final thoughts here in the last about 1 minute, okay?
Okay, well, my final thoughts are I'm just hoping to make the best difference I can in myself and improving myself, making the best difference I can for the community and helping to improve the community and educating not only politicians, but if there's a business that doesn't have something in place, then I am available to go to that business and talk to them and review their policies and say, okay, here's my suggestion to you to make this a conducive work environment for all members of your employee, and just to be able to let them have those team building exercises to incorporate that person that's transitioning um, into their company and let everybody know this is still a valuable member, because I know people who have had stories of violence, um, not some physical, some not physical, but it does take a toll on the emotions.
Yeah.
And I hope to educate the medical community as well.
Excellent. Well, listen, thank you so much for being here, Kyla, and we're going to close now. And again, I'm hoping we're going to have you back again in the future, and we will be talking more about this. This has been Steve Ryan with the Coastal Progressive and Rainbow Forum on Society Bites Radio, and we have had Kyla today. Thank you again, Kyla.
Well, thank you very much, Steve, and I look forward to the future.